US and ICICI Bank in diversified profiles of auditing, taxation, mergers and acquisitions. He is also an advisor to the Capital Market Study Group of Northern Indian Regional Council and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and has wide experience in heading North Region of Currency Derivatives Market of ICICI Bank. I would please call upon Mr. Aman Chugh and Mr. Dilip Maheshwari to please come to the stage and introduce the book.
Thank you very much. On behalf of TKWs, as in the capacity of All India Lean Academics, I welcome you all to have taken some of your precious time in attending this forum. I believe it was a bit of use for you, at least in terms of knowledge gathering and networking style as well. Coming on to the book on currency derivatives, in fact, I and Dilip Maheshwari, we used to study together, in fact, during our CA days. And while we used to do our CA studies, derivatives was one of the introduced subject in India. In 2001, in fact, derivatives became legal. In 2003, we had an attempt of CA final, and in 2003, in fact, currency derivatives became legal in India. And when we used to read through various books on currency derivatives, we referred to around 11 books on derivatives: John C. Hull, Rastogi, Khan and Jan, Van Horn, and all those different named authors. And then after one fine day, after reading all through those all 11 books, I and Dilip, we used to interact with each other. कुछ समझ आया? तो बता। तो मैं कहते derivatives है क्या यार? तो हम दोनों ने we prayed God and we prayed God कि बॉस एक बार भगवान फाइनल फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में क्लियर करवा देना, उसके बाद दोबारा derivatives की शक्ल नहीं देखेगा, पता नहीं क्या derivatives है. But then after clearing CA, in fact, by grace of God, I moved into PwC doing taxation and auditing. But I asked Divek, because since he was more intelligent than me, more studious, more intelligent in CA and CS final rank holder as well, BCom rank holder as well. So मैं उसको कहता था, Divek, why don't we join into PwCs and Ernst & Young and KPMGs and the likes? He said, no boss, I wish to get into this derivatives line. You know what rubbish? We promised God we will not be getting into this market of derivatives, which is a complex stuff. 11 books, we could not understand anything out of that. And I'm moving into PwC. If you want, I can speak with my partners. We can probably recruit you as well. He said, no, I wish to start my career with derivatives. But he did not find a derivatives profile. He joined into Exim Bank for a very short span of time. But then, from PwC, I moved into Ernst & Young Dubai, handling mergers and acquisitions and valuations, and I again gave a call to my dear friend Divek. I asked him, so Divek, did you get an opportunity to join into the derivatives department? He said, no, I'm still trying, but yes, I have made into Tata Consultancy Services. My Tata Consultancy Services was, you're more intelligent than me, why didn't you join into Ernst & Young with me? I'm in Dubai, handling mergers and acquisitions and valuations. He said, no man, I wish to get into derivatives. I said, kya hai derivatives? And then, from EY Dubai, the CFO of G Infrastructure, Mr. Manish Patolawala, he was in Dubai to interact with the partners of Ernst & Young, and he asked me, Mr. Aman, can you pack your bags, leave Dubai and move to US along with me to lead a team of around 10 Americans in US at the age of around 23 and a half in doing mergers, acquisitions. I said, why not? The dream coming true. I moved over to US, I gave a call to Divek again, Mr. Divek, where are you these days? He said, at last, Aman, I have moved into ICICI Bank in Treasury. Man, thank God. So are you learning something? He said, yes, I have been learning quite a good number of derivative products like forwards and futures, options, etc. I did not understand a bit of that, although I was in the US doing all sorts of mergers, acquisitions, valuations, etc. But then, I wanted to come back to India, my own motherland, my own homeland, my own India. And I came back to India, setting up the corporate banking department for North Region, corporate funding, for which I was being bestowed by Mr. K.V. Kamath the Star Achievement Award. And then I again called Divek. I said, Divek, I'm receiving an award from Mr. K.V. Kamath on doing corporate banking, splendid job on corporate banking stuff, setting up the North Region next to 115 odd people out there, setting a team of around 115 odd people. He said, wow, why don't you meet me? I moved over to Mumbai. I was there to receive that award, and I called up Divek and we met, and that night we spent together. We spoke. I spoke about my profiles doing audit, taxation, mergers, acquisitions, valuations, corporate funding, and then he could correlate all those areas with his experiences, although he had never worked in all those areas. But then, when I asked him, so Divek, what did you learn? He said, derivatives. I said, only derivatives? What's there in it? And then he spoke. He spoke. He only spoke. There was a yawning gap between my knowledge and my experiences. Yawning gap, you understand? जब हम yawn करते हैं तो शक्ल कितनी गंदी दिखती है और yawn करे बगैर शक्ल कितनी अच्छी दिखती है तो there was a yawning gap. मेरे को लगता है शायद बहुत कुछ आता है, but somehow कुछ भी नहीं आता था. And then I asked Lalit, get me one book where I can read this whole stuff, boss. You have answered and you have actually raised many questions in my mind which I was wondering कि ऐसा कैसे होता है in this world economy. He said, no book has been written so far on this stuff. And great. So tell me the website on Google, internet boom. So any website where I can find out this whole stuff. He said, no internet site speaks on this stuff. I said, great. So why is it so? He said, because derivatives market in this world daily is around $5 trillion. When I say daily $5 trillion, I mean to say that if there are 300 working days in a year, it is $1,500 trillion of derivatives. And world's GDP in one financial year is not more than $60 trillion. If $60 trillion is the final value of the goods and services produced in the domestic territory of the world, 25 times the world's GDP is derivatives. Now I mean to say that 90% of this derivatives is actually on currency and interest rate derivatives, and 2% is only equity derivatives, and 2% is only commodity derivatives, which means a lot many authors have written a book on, various books in fact, on equity derivatives, saying put and call on equity and nifties and etc. जो कि students को समझ नहीं आता, including us. And no author has so far written a book on currency and interest rate derivatives, which is 90% of the world's derivative market. But of course, if we have to understand English, हमें अगर English समझनी है, तो हमें sentence formation and phrase formation, metaphor formation सब आना चाहिए. सिर्फ A, B, C, D से काम नहीं चलता. And वो 2% derivative market A, B, C, D सिखाते रहते हैं. Students को expectation ये होती है, शायद मेरे को derivatives आ जाएगा. But then, after gaining an entry into ICICI Bank, corporate banking, after that I moved into treasury doing derivatives. And when I did derivatives, all the sort of exotic products like all those Kikos and Wonders, these all exotic derivatives which you could think, which you could speak, I realized no book has been written so far. And then, after leaving ICICI, in fact, I thought I should write a book on derivatives. And then, I asked Lalit, I want to write a book on derivatives, currency derivatives. He said, wow. So we are going to be joint authors, co-authors? I said, yes. And we wrote a book on currency derivatives, taking an examples on tomatoes and potatoes, taking an example on basic terminologies of exporter in India, selling good abroad, receiving dollars, getting $1, he's getting 50 rupees, now getting 40 rupees, has appreciated, and that means he's sufferer, etc., etc. And raising that level of a book to exotic strategies which are necessary for our corporate world as well. Because we realize that these all academicians and all the students who have been taught on derivatives have been taught on equity derivatives, and one fine day when they join into export department or import department of a company and handling their forex exposure, they would not be having any knowledge about puts and calls and options and forwards, and ultimately the banker comes and he just missells the product innovation definition which we were speaking about, sir. And then we wrote a book, the foreword of which has been written by the CEO of Credit Suisse Bank, in fact Mumbai branch, and jointly co-forwarded by the North India Regional Council of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India as well. In fact, we have covered all sorts of exotic strategies, and from the base to the highest level of derivatives we can think of. And I'm extremely glad to be presenting, pre-launching this book in front of you all, galaxy of stars sitting out here, having taken precious time from a busy schedule. And I wish to end my note by reciting a few lines. आते नहीं है लम्हे जिंदगी में बार बार कि समेट ले इस शाम की यादें अपने दिल में मेरे यार. अर्ज क्या है? आते नहीं है लम्हे जिंदगी में बार बार कि समेट ले इस शाम की यादें अपने दिल में मेरे यार, कि कल हम रहें ना रहें तुम रहो ना रहो मगर इस शाम की यादें बन जाएं जिंदगी भर की यादगार. This is Aman, Chugh, your host and host, All India Dean Academic CKWs, signing off. Thank you all for your precious time. I would like Divik to speak a few lines onto that as well. Thank you.
Aman has obviously done an overpraise of me, but the wide experience which Aman has been is huge, and at the last year the experience of derivatives which finally finally I could convince him that he has to be in derivatives, and he entered the last stage and realized that the knowledge is very precious. Effectively, just to tell you briefly about the book, there are lots of books written in the market. They are more theoretical books. As a practical practitioner, there is no book ever written on derivatives which I have seen in the market, having been a decade in this industry. And the attempt was to write a book which is more practical. Just to give you an example, all of us know interest rate parity theory, all of us know inflation adjusted returns, real returns, and all those things. However, in the real world, there is nothing to do with interest rate parity. There is the differentials in interest rate between countries, and the difference in inflation between countries, and the difference in forwards between currencies have no correlation whatsoever. We read in books all correlations that exist in the market, but in the market in which we are living today, and which this generation will no longer be a perfect market. What we have tried through the book is to explain the facts which, as a practitioner, when you sit on the desk and you want to do derivatives, what do you do step by step? Which means you have to watch Reuters screen, which means you have to watch Bloomberg screen, what you need to see on Reuters, how you need to price a forward, how you need to price an option. What we took permission of Reuters, they were very kind, and there are more than 100 screenshots of Reuters which we have printed inside the book, through which you can actually see what every global financial derivatives trader sees in real market and how he decides to do a particular product. It's more of a practical bent of mine, and that's been the intent. And thanks to Pearson for having published this book.
That was a great and interesting insight. We really look forward to grab a copy of your book, sir. We now begin with a final session on talent management.